As at this point, nobody will convince me that what these people are literally trying to do is to make sure that black people are moved out of the space. When I mean black people, I mean specifically black Americans. And I've never said this in my video before, but I'm going to be saying this today. Black Americans, please, anything you are doing right now, double it. Double it in the sense that if you say we are sitting back, double it. If you say we are standing, we are standing for ourselves, double it. Because the way it's looking right now, these people just want to shift every other black Americans. Let it make sense to me that we knew every single thing that transpired between the Afrikaners, which are in South Africa. I don't want to go into details because of the YouTube rules and regulation, right? Where some black folks were by white folks and we're being fed to pigs, right? And it is now getting crazy that the orange man will literally sit down and then come into conclusion and said, we're giving a lot of countries ban, but except for the white folks in South Africa. They can come in as refugee. Like there is nothing wrong with that because he has seen their suffering, he has seen the rate of racism that is there. It's just a whole lot to deal with. But anyways, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. And with that being said, let's dive right into this video. Let's watch and I'll be back with commentaries. For disclaimers, this is just for educational purposes. Let's go roll out the clips, guys.
Something really sick and regressive is beginning to rear its ugly head in regard to race and how it correlates with nationality here in the United States of America. So let's go ahead and put this into perspective. Entrance into the United States for anyone seeking refugee status or asylum is essentially shut down. People from a range of countries in Central and South America, Africa, who were 80 to 90% through the immigration process were denied once Trump took office. We have literal teenage girls being face planted onto the pavement by ICE, and children with cancer who are United States citizens, by the way, being deported to other countries with their parents. But just go ahead and guess which group or demographic of people are receiving preferential treatment and were essentially ushered in luxury from their native country to the United States of America due to the fact that they are experiencing racial persecution in their country? The Afrikaners, the white South Africans. Elon Musk didn't have any influence on this, right? If you know anything about the history of apartheid in the country of South Africa, you will very well understand that them claiming to be facing any type of racial persecution is bullshit. Apartheid was a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination that lasted up until 1994 in the country of South Africa. And in result, 72% of the farmland in South Africa is owned by 7% of the population, and that 7% is mostly comprised of descendants of Dutch settlers, aka colonizers. The main reason why a lot of them really wanted to leave is because President Ramaphosa signed a new law that allows for expropriation without compensation due to very specific circumstances. I want to reiterate, they make up 7% of the population and own almost 80% of the land. Over 30 years after the abolition of apartheid, the president of South Africa is trying to impose some type of equity for Black people in South Africa. I genuinely don't get it. Does the majority of white people around the globe just want Black people to continue to live in poverty to their own benefit? What is so terrifying about having an equal and, more importantly, equitable society? A harmonious society where everybody can freaking thrive. It's such an issue and taken as a threat, and it's so shitty as a person on the receiving end. And let's be real, all of this is a slippery slope to actively and lawfully target Black Americans, trying to overturn things like birthright citizenship, removal of all things DEI, which really means removal of all things Black American. I'm gonna need for a lot of y'all to wake up and smell the coffee, and as always, it's your girl Day. Comment your thoughts down below.
You can't make this up. But do you all remember when this administration welcomed 59 white South Africans into the country, talking about they were fleeing from persecution in South Africa for being white, and they allowed these Afrikaners to take a privately chartered jet, because that's what refugees get to do, I guess, come to the United States, and they were met by two deputy directors of federal agencies, not just one, but two. Well, let me refresh your memory because I have an update on what's going on with them now. But let's look back at when they were welcomed off their private charter jet.
Welcome. Welcome to the United States of America. It is such an honor for us to receive you here today. This is the land of the free, and we know that all of you have faced... I'm Chris Landau. First of all, let me introduce myself. I'm the Deputy Secretary of State of the United States. This is my friend Troy Edgar.
Yeah, I'm the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. And again, welcome. So great to have you guys here.
I know you've gone through a long flight. I cannot believe there are babies and children who are actually so well behaved. This is much better than mine are. So bless you for that. And you know, I think it makes me so happy to see you with our flag in your hands, and that flag symbolizes liberty for so many of us. Many of us, our families.
Well, that was in May of last year. Let's take a look at what's going on with them today. It couldn't have happened to some better people.
Welcome back. You may recall last year we reported on the Trump administration's decision to limit the number of refugees entering the United States. That number was set at 7,500, a significant cut from the Biden era. In addition, the administration is prioritizing white South Africans for admission, a group it says faces persecution at home, something the South African government disputes. Well, now an investigation from the Free Press shows many of those white South Africans, also known as Afrikaners, are barely scraping by because of what they say are failures in U.S. government systems. Madeline Rowley is an investigative reporter for the Free Press, and she joins us now from Virginia to talk about this. And we should note the Free Press and CBS News share a parent company in Paramount Skydance. Madeline, good morning. Talk to us about the conditions some of these refugees say they are experiencing, because the administration made it seem as if they were being prioritized. They are a special group.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me on. Yes, I spoke to 10 South African refugees who told me that, you know, they came to the U.S. hoping for a better life, a better situation, just as other refugees. And the government contracts with 7 refugee resettlement agencies that are paid hundreds of millions of dollars per year to provide safe, sanitary, and affordable housing. And unfortunately, what I heard from these Afrikaner refugees is that they're spending weeks in motels in unsafe areas. They're being offered housing that is full of mold, apartments that are full of mold in expensive areas. So each refugee is allotted $2,000, and all of that has been going to rent. So they're really left with nothing. And these agencies are supposed to help them apply to jobs, obtain temporary benefits such as SNAP and Medicaid, and basically other people from the community, like neighbors, are having to step in because they just, in some cases, can't even get a hold of their resettlement agencies.
And Madeline, what jumps out to me about what you're saying is we have this almost split screen between what you're describing their life is like now and how they looked in May of 2025 when they were being welcomed here. They were holding American flags. They had smiles on their faces. When you asked refugee groups about these issues with the resettlement process, what are they telling you? How common is this?
Well, from what I could tell, I mean, there is an entire network of people as they come. I mean, people I spoke to came as soon as 2 weeks ago. And what they do is, they have a network through social media groups and WhatsApp, and they're all realizing, oh no, I'm stuck in this hotel. I only have a certain amount of food. They don't have transportation. They don't have the right clothing. I talked to 3 refugees who are in Detroit. It's very cold there. They do not have coats. So they're realizing that they really feel alone. So I think with that original group, now we're sort of seeing, I think so far, over 1,600 Afrikaner refugees have come. And now we're seeing sort of the cracks in the system here when it comes to how these resettlement agencies work. They have regional offices all throughout the United States where the money from the federal government trickles down. Some of them, one refugee resettlement agency, their federal expenditures topped $727 million in fiscal year 2024. So I think we have to ask here, why are these refugees being told there's no budget for for food, or there's no other apartments or places to show them that are in safe and sanitary areas.
So, Madeline, in our last few moments, what are these resettlement groups telling you? And are other refugee groups expressing the same amount of challenges?
Well, I mean, I think that's one of the questions that my reporting for the Free Press raises. I spoke to the neighbor of one Afrikaner family who was resettled in North Carolina. And the neighbor told me, she's been helping this family. She gave them air mattresses, pillows. She spent $300 of her own money to help this family. And she told me that previously there was a family from Afghanistan, a refugee family from Afghanistan, who was living in this rental home, and they experienced the same challenges. So I think this really raises the question. The majority of Afrikaners, a lot of Afrikaners do speak English. It's not their first language, and not all of them here speak English. But I think this raises the question as to whether or not other refugees that are going through this refugee resettlement system are experiencing the same thing. And this is sort of the first time that we're hearing about it.
And we did just show a statement from the Office of Refugee Resettlement saying every effort is made to provide them with safe and sanitary housing. Madeline, we appreciate your reporting, putting a spotlight on this, and we thank you for joining us this morning.
This couldn't have happened to a group of better people. And the most interesting thing that I didn't know that I learned from that reporting was they have snuck 1,600 more of these South African Afrikaners fleeing from a lie of persecution in South Africa. Yeah, sounds about right. But I don't hear any outrage from these maggots and racists and bigots talking about they're getting $2,000 a month. They're being put on welfare so they can have medical and yada, yada, yada. I don't hear any of that from those anti-immigrant groups that are always talking about immigrants just being allowed to breathe in the United States. Like I said, couldn't have happened to a better group. Yep, I guess their usefulness has run its course. Oh, you can't make this up. But I'm going to enjoy the laugh all the way.
This video of this woman from South Africa talking about how on a Facebook group she saw that Afrikaner refugees here in the U.S. are struggling and are thinking about going back.
Family of refugees has been placed in this town, and they have had no food.
You know what? I don't smoke, but today I am smoking on the Afrikaner part, yeah? I'm here to watch their burial. You get me? I don't like these fools, bro. You know what they did? Yeah? If it was in China, it's treason. They would just get... You get me? Africans are so nice, bro. So, to me, if they want to come back, just drop them to the nearest European country, bro. You get me? And also, I've noticed something very interesting about these fools. When something bad happened in South Africa, their first thought is run. Go somewhere else. Or report to Trump or wherever. They never stay and fix it we are leaving. We will leave or something. Notice how the black people never say we are leaving? You see? Because they belong there. They have nowhere else to go. But these fools, we are running. We are going to tell our daddy, Trump, to come bully our government because he has a lot more. That's why sometimes I like China and North Korea and them, and they're if you mess around, this is treason, but you get me?
So some of South Africa's finest people, 49 of them, have landed in the United States because they are fleeing persecution from South Africa for being white. That doesn't even sound right, but maybe some of these claims are actual claims. But I think most of these people are in for a rude awakening because, people talk of white privilege in the US. Trust me, it's nowhere near the amount of privilege that white people have in South Africa. Because really, these people are 7% of the population and have got access to, as a collective, 80% of the wealth in the country. And then they're saying they're being targeted for, their farms and all of that. South Africa is a pretty dangerous country, and the danger is not color specific. Even when I'm in South Africa, my head is always on a swivel because you don't want to be in the wrong part of the country because, things will even go bad, even for someone like me. But I feel like there's a play, with like Trump and Musk, and I really can't pinpoint exactly what it is. Maybe a link with like Starlink, maybe South Africa being a part of BRICS, which wants to like replace the US dollar, so they can attack them. I really don't know. But what I can say to the new refugees from South Africa is life here is a bit different. You can't just be racist in this country, number one. Number two, man, you have to work. You really got to work the standard. And the standard of living, I mean, America is a richer country, but then people don't really have like maids or drivers like that here, so that's something. It's gonna be interesting to see just how many of these people come, because 49, you'd think if there's a genocide happening, it would be thousands coming.
White, it ain't right should be this administration's new motto, seeing that the Trump administration will be taking on white South African refugees. Now, mind you, Trump had put an end to the refugee program, stating that America can no longer house migrants from other countries. But what he really meant to say was America can no longer house migrants who aren't white. The South African government even came out to tell Trump that these migrants haven't been vetted in any way whatsoever, so they don't know if they're criminals or not. Also, these are people who are wholly in support of apartheid, mass segregations. And normally programs like this require the migrants being brought over to be able to pay back the money spent to charter a plane to bring them over. But
South African refugees. Let's get into it. You may have heard this come up multiple times in the media as of recently, especially from our president.
It's a genocide that's taking place that you people don't want to write about, but it's a terrible thing that's taking place. And farmers are being killed. They happen to be white. But whether they're white or black makes no difference to me. But white farmers are being brutally killed, and their land is being confiscated in South Africa. And the newspapers and the media, television media, doesn't even talk about it.
There's a lot to unpack here as to why our administration prefers white asylum seekers and are bad-mouthing and painting black and brown asylum seekers and migrants in the wrong way. In his first presidency, President Trump didn't hide the fact that he thought that there were good countries and bad countries. He called Haiti and El Salvador shithole countries, whilst in the same sentence saying that we need more migrants from good places like Norway. White Afrikaners in South Africa fit the stereotype that many white-ring governments around the world want in their country, and they have become the darlings. 3 decades ago, on April 27, 1994, after centuries of white rule, black South Africans voted in general elections for the first time. This marked the official end of apartheid rule, cemented days later when Nelson Mandela was sworn in as the country's first black president. Since the arrival of Dutch settlers in the 1800s and British colonists in the 1700s and 1800s, South Africa had been a project that subjected black people systematically segregationist laws and practices. But it was the adoption of apartheid in 1948 that codified and formalized these racist practices into law. It strictly separated people into separate classes based on their skin color, putting the white minority in the highest class, with all others, including black, indigenous, multi-race, multi-ethnic people, and descendants of indentured Indian workers below them. The Group Areas Act, people were legally segregated based on race and allocated into separate areas to live and to work. The law regulated non-white groups further away from developed urban areas. Black people in particular were housed under resource French townships far away from the center. From the late 1950s, some 3.5 million black South Africans were forced to relocate from urban areas, and some 70% of the population was squeezed into 13% of the country's most unproductive, uninhabitable land. Those who opposed these laws and refused to move had their homes forcibly demolished and were sometimes arrested and in prison. Black people, specifically men, worked in cities as a source of cheap labor, were required to carry pass books which dictated which areas they can move freely through. Under the separate amenities laws, public transportation, parks, beaches, theaters, restaurants, and other amenities were segregated racially, signs stating whites only, very similar to Jim Crow America. The story of apartheid in South Africa is not one that America is not familiar with, and one that America is not trying to go back to today, which adds another layer as to why these refugees are now being welcomed with open arms. South Africa reports over 20,000 killings and deaths a year. Of that, only around 50 were white South African farmers. But why is this story being painted? We have to get into the Land Expatriate Act. Expropriation Act number 13 was signed into law by President Cyril Ramaphosa in January, and it's meant to address the land inequalities that stem from apartheid and white supremacy. Nearly 400 years of Dutch and British colonial rule and four decades of apartheid saw waves of land grabs and mass evictions of black, Indian, and mixed race people to create a white only area. The 1913 Native Land Act gave most farmland to whites, generally Afrikaners of Dutch and French descent, leaving just 13% to blacks. The 1950 Afrikaner National Party passed a law removing 3.5 million black people from their ancestral lands. Today, only 4% of privately held land is owned by black South Africans, who make up nearly 80% of the 60 million person population. When we look at the history of South Africa and we look at that very recent ending of apartheid, you have to understand why the magnitude of these white refugees being chartered in on a plane, being held at a press conference, being given land matters. Why does it matter? Let's cut to Acre Trader. What is Acre Trader? Acre Trader is an investment company based out of Ohio that invests in farmland, providing farmland and resources to people who want to farm. One of the initial investors in Acre Trader was none other than J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, who's at the helm of their administration, who is now having all these farmers fail because the farmers didn't get continued subsidies. What happened when the farmers didn't get continued subsidies? The government is grabbing their land up. So we have Afrikaners who were farmers coming to America as refugees with skill sets to farm, and some of the initial investment group funds that came into this company were also from South Africa. Are we seeing the picture now? So we have the brown migrants and the brown workers who have been providing services to this country for centuries, how we get our goods, how we get our farmland tilled. And now we have white refugees who are okay because they're white. This country wants to go back to Jim Crow. White people in South Africa still exist in Jim Crow. I always say South Africa today is like America in the 1960s, 1980s, because of when apartheid ended. It ended in 1994. I was in primary school in 1994. It's insane to think about. But the more you know.
Let me get this straight. Mr. Orange refused Congolese refugees from coming to the States, right? Mind you, there's a whole civil war happening in Congo. Like, people are dying every day. Thousands of people are being misplaced every day, right? And then he refused for Sudan's refugees to come to the States. Again, a lot of wars happening in Sudan. People are dying, and a lot of people need refuge, right? He refused all those people from coming to the States. But he allowed 49 Afrikaners, aka white people that never belonged in South Africa, who went to South Africa, stole those people land, the money and everything. And up to this day, they still have their land, right? And there's like more black people in South Africa than white, but the white people have more power over the black people. Makes no sense. Anyways, you're telling me the white people in South Africa need more refuge than the people who have war going on in their country? Like, are we for real? There is no way. Like, you're telling me white people and the orange man talking about, oh, there's a genocide happening to the white Afrikaners in South Africa. Where? In what news? Because it's not in any news. Like, what are you talking about? I just feel like he just make up things as.
Anyways, welcome back, guys, and thank you so much for watching all of that clip. And a lot of them said they're fleeing because of racism and every other thing that is literally happening to them in South Africa. And to God be the glory, great things he has done. The orange man gladly gave them the opportunity for them to be able to just disappear and get a place at least in the United States. But why is it not crazy that we are seeing videos that a lot of them saying they want to actually go back to where they literally come from? Now, let me tell you guys something. A lot of white folks in South Africa are highly racist, highly racist when it comes to black individuals. But they will literally not see all of this. Reason because at the end of the day, every single thing that black people do is literally pissing them off. And you see this wake-up call that they are getting, or this FAFO, this F around and find out, is absolutely beautiful. Because at the end of the day, you will see that these people have literally not done any good thing for black community. Now, this is the reason why a lot of them, let me just give you guys some of the reasons, or one of the sweetest reasons why a lot of them are feeling like, oh, they're no longer safe, blah, 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 and they have to just come as refugees. Because the place, the areas that they are right now, they were thinking that by this time, they will be taking charge or ruling over South Africa. It's just a whole lot to deal with. Like I said, that was even, I don't want to talk about this accident that happened, okay? But it's just too much. And one thing I will tell Black Americans is no matter what, just know that you are the best, you are choosing, and at the end of the day, these people will literally just try everything they are doing, but they will definitely fail. I love the fact that they give them, welcome them, standing ovation, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, what now comes out of it? What comes out of it? Now, I still keep asking question. Why is it that this orange man will literally use all of the resources he have for other countries and forgetting that a lot of people in his own country are going through the same thing over and over again? Wow. Anyways, a lot of time I just think, and the next thing I do is just to pray for Black Americans, because with the level this man is going, trying to act as if he's the hero, trying to act as if he's the alpha and the omega, he's the only one that can save these people, is alarming. And even coupled with the fact that these people will literally look into your eyes and be like they have more privilege than you, and then we are seeing all of these tagging them as refugees. And even when the South African president came out and be like, these people are not vented yet, so we don't even know if they are criminals, we don't even know if they are this man still choose. He still choose. And you know the hilarious part is private jets. I don't know why. I just hate to talk about this orange man. I can tell you for a whole fact. I don't like talking about him, because whenever I hear a lot of, or start talking about him, I just get more pissed off. That is how he said he will come to Nigeria to come and fight our battles. Our battles. But you have a lot of battle in your hand. A lot of battles that need to be settled. A lot of battles that need to be fought. Let me know what you think about this video. Credit belongs to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in our today's episode. If you haven't subscribed, what are you waiting for? Please do what, subscribe, like this video, drop me a comment, and lastly, do not forget to share. And yes, guys, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I'm going to be seeing, but I'll see you guys in my next one. I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you liking my videos, dropping commentaries, subscribing, joining my membership, dropping super thanks. I really appreciate you guys, and I do not take you guys for granted, okay? It is well. Just keep the hope alive, and just let's keep praying. Bye for now, guys. I love you. Mwah.